Hello again from my front porch. I have been on the road a lot lately for work, conferences and stuff. Let's see, where was I last week? I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and then I was in Austin, Texas in the same week. Then I came home, and then earlier this week I was down in Nashville, Tennessee, visiting construction jobs. Actually, the new Tennessee Titans Stadium, which my company is helping build. And so I've been doing a lot of traveling here in this little period of time. But as you all well know, for the last 5+ years, I've been traveling all over. The job that I have now requires a great deal of travel. And so when I first started doing that traveling, this kind of stuff didn't stand out to me as much, didn't bother me as much. As I become more of a seasoned, experienced traveler, I also become a little bougie, as my bestie Tara would say. She loves using that word about herself, not just to be clear. But I discovered that my standards, my expectations evolve. Now, I would like to think that I'm not asking too much. I'm not being outlandish or outrageous, but the reality is I know that this situation has not changed in the time I've been traveling, and I don't recall it bothering me as much when I first started traveling. Therefore, I have changed. That's the only outcome that I can come up with. But what it goes to is we are a very electrical society. And with that being the case, with the the cell phones now all the time and constantly being used, and then you need to plug them in to recharge them. Laptops you need to plug in and charge up. Other stuff that people have they need to plug in and use. I have become increasingly aware of the lack of ability and opportunity to plug stuff in when I'm traveling. Especially cell phone and my iPod, my earpods, or whatever they're called. Now, I think maybe I need to get a new set of those because I'm noticing that they only last about the duration of a good 2.5 hour flight. And I'm pretty sure they're supposed to last a little bit longer than that. But the case itself is a recharging case, so I can take them out, put them in there. But there have been a few times where I'm watching stuff on my phone during the flight, and before the flight is done, like half an hour before we board, they both crash. They both run out of juice, and I can take them out, put them in the case, let them charge, but then I'm not watching stuff on my phone then, and so I may have to look at updating those, but that's a whole another issue. The point is, I've noticed that increasingly I have increasingly noticed, because I don't think it changed in the airports themselves, but in the airports, I have increasingly noticed that a lot of the airports don't really plan to provide power to travelers. Now, there are airports, including the Des Moines airport, that have places designated you can sit and plug stuff in, but it's a little bit of a rolling the dice as to whether those places even work. In fact, just this last trip to Nashville, I was sitting out because if I get to a gate early, like a substantial amount of time early, like an hour, 45 minutes early, I might just plant myself in a seat at the gate and do stuff on my phone. But I don't want to run my battery down on my phone that I might want to use on the plane, so I plug it in while I'm sitting there, and I look for a place to sit where I can plug stuff in. Here in Des Moines, I found a place to sit, and it had outlets all around these seats. I plug them in, and it didn't work because the power outlets weren't working. And I've run into that many places, not just here in Des Moines, but in lots of different airports where they have these tees. They tease you these things where okay, you can sit here, and we've got under the chair or on the arm of the chairs. You can plug stuff in, and you can be a recharge your, and then you plug stuff in, and it doesn't work. I don't know if it's not plugged in itself. I don't know if the power breaker isn't on for that. I don't know what the reasons are, but where those things are provided, they often don't work. But even more annoying than that, well, I wouldn't say more annoying, because it is pretty annoying that you go in and that they tease you with that. But There are some airports, and I wish I had written these down. I wish I had made a list when I was there. I can't cite for you the specific airports that get this right. But there are some airports where there are power options everywhere. Where they got little islands you can be at where you can plug in. They've got little stand-up things you can plug into somewhere. They've got the seating thing, and they're all working. That I've never had issues. I think Fort Lauderdale was one of the airports that I remember noticing that about a lot of. The Dallas airport also was pretty good with that too. But the situation though in a lot of these airports is they don't even have much of this. Des Moines Airport, it's a little sketchy. As far as where you can go and you can plug stuff in, which then makes it worse when you sit down at one of them, plug stuff in, and it doesn't work for whatever reason. But some airports, they actually have figured out the modern traveler is somebody who's plugging stuff in, charging things up while they're waiting. Unfortunately, not all airports do, and that is frustrating. It is a lack of recognition. Now, I've already mentioned before, I've also noticed how it seems that the size of airplane has either increased or they're now landing bigger planes at smaller airports because I've noticed that airports also, a lot of times the boarding area where the seating and stuff is gets way overfilled and there's nowhere near enough seating for people that are going to be getting on this particular plane, and it pours out into the aisle and all this kind of stuff, which is bad planning on the part of the airport or the airline or both or something. But then when you think about all of that ocean of people trying to get onto this one plane are supposed to be in this one waiting area, and in that one waiting area there may only be a handful of places to plug stuff in, you're leaving a whole bunch of these people with no option at all. So what I find myself doing in airport situations like that a lot of times is I will go find somewhere to eat, to sit down and have a bite to eat, to plug in. And sometimes some of the restaurants have planned it well too, that at every table or every booth there's an outlet you can plug right into, and that's really great. But a lot of them don't have that either. And sadly, the place that is the most reliable, the most dependable, is you go into a place and you sit at the bar. Because at the bar, oftentimes underneath the bar, there are outlets all along underneath the bar. And so I'll go and I'll sit at the bar and I'll order a burger and a soda and plug my plug my stuff in underneath the bar. So you find ways to get around that, but I have to search that out because the airport itself has not provided the options. And this continues on into hotels. I go to a hotel, and there's some hotels that they understand the modern traveler, and they've got the options for power to plug in like everywhere in the facility. But a lot of times there are hotels, especially the ones that are refurbished hotels that have previously existed and have been either remodeled or they were completely bought out by some other entity that spruced them up. But those were not designed in an era in which people carried around so much stuff they wanted to plug in. And so there's hardly any outlets. Most hotel rooms today now have a desk area, work area. That's great. So I'll sit down with my laptop. Sometimes I have two laptops, my work one and my personal one if I'm on a longer trip, because I'll be doing like front porch video editing and stuff on my personal one. And so I like to be able to plug those in. But then I also will have my phones, two phones, personal and work phone. I'll have my earbuds I want to plug in. And if I've taken along my microphone system for my videos, I have to plug those in to make sure that the lavalier mics stay charged up. So any of these trips, there's all of that stuff. Just for me, that's 6 different things. Now, I can double up like my phones. I found myself a dual cord, you plug it into the wall, it's got 2 USB slots on it, and so then I got 2 USB cords coming out of it, and I keep that to plug in my phones. So I can plug that in generally by my bed, by the nightstand, if there is an outlet there. Most of the time there is. Surprisingly, there is not always. Or if there is, it's one outlet. It's being used for some stuff, and so I always just unplug their alarm clock because most of them have an alarm clock. If I can get to it, if it's not hidden behind the bed, and I'll unplug the alarm clock, and then I will plug my cords into that because I don't care about your alarm clock. I use my cell phone for that. But even at the desk area, the work area, sometimes there's no outlet. There was one hotel I stayed in where there was literally no outlet at the desk area. There was a lamp there on the corner of the desk area that plugged into an outlet behind this big built-in entertainment center thing, and it had one outlet plug in the base of the lamp. Okay, I've got two computers, these other things. What do I play? So I've learned to carry an adapter with me. I have both an extension cord. I have like a 3-foot or 6-foot extension, 6 foot. I have a 6-foot extension cord. I also have a little extender for a 3-prong outlet that you plug it in. It gives you about this much extra space, so you can bend to something. Get it that way. If you're plugging into like a power strip or something, you can get access to it. And if you got a block, you can get it away from the power strip. Anyway, so I've learned to carry these other resources with me to make up for the lack of planning that the hotel people have. Oh, there's also a 7th thing that I will plug in oftentimes. That is my Fire Stick. I have 2 TVs in my house. Each one has their own Fire Stick on them. And I have a 3rd Fire Stick that I put in my laptop bag that I take with me when I travel so that I can plug it into the TV in the hotel room and I can continue watching the shows that I normally would watch at home the way I would normally watch them. Works really slick. However, Fire Stick has to be plugged in too. And so if I can get the Fire Stick plugged into the back of the TV, which that's difficult sometimes. They don't make that easy. But if I can plug it into the back of the TV, you plug in the cord to it, and you run where's the outlet? There's no outlet accessible. That's where my 6-foot extension cord comes in. Oftentimes, that's just enough to be able to get me to an outlet on the wall or something like that. All of this is resolved, though, if hotels would just add a few more outlets, especially at the desk work area. I mean, come on. We are an electronic age. People sitting at that desk area working, they're using computers, they're using technology. Have a place to plug them in. I know. I can hear some of you already. Man, Paul, you're complaining about all this stuff. This is serious first world problems. I know that. Remember how I said at the beginning that I think I've become more bougie in my expectations. But on the other hand, I don't think I'm asking too much. I don't think it is irrational for me to expect that airports and hotels at least ought to be making power outlets more available to people. And if you are a restaurant facility, especially catering to travelers, likewise, you should be planning for places where people can plug stuff in. It shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be something that the customer is left going, excuse me, is there some place that I could plug this in? No, those ought to be plentiful because that is a reflection of where we're going. I mean, for crying out loud, we have all the folks in Washington want everyone driving around electric cars. And so the first complaint is, well, where would I plug the thing in? And which then spawns this whole, all this spending to create all of these places where you can go to gas stations and supermarkets and whatever, where there are designated electrical car charging stations. You swipe your credit card, charge your car. And so we're accounting for that. We're saying, hey, we want people to drive electric cars, so we're creating more opportunity for you to plug in your electric cars to make that more feasible, more viable. Hello, I don't have an electric car, but I live in an electric society and I travel and I need to be able to use these things and plug them in. Please, could we address these? I'm sure that there are going to be hotel chains and airlines and airports that are going to be watching this video going, oh, he does have a point. Yes, he does. And it will revolutionize, and then you can all thank me. No, I kind of have a feeling this is just Paul venting, getting it off his chest, and it will not change anything whatsoever. But when it starts to happen, don't worry, I will take full credit. Oh, all right. Well, that's it. I just this it was really bugging me. It really does that this is the scenario. So I guess I'll just have to learn to live with it, and subdue my bouginess and just put up with what I'm given. But if you're in the hotel business, if you're in the airline business, if you're in the airport business, please think about the connected travelers. We need more places to plug stuff in. It's just the way of the world. And with that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.